Hey, for my reflection on my high impact coaching implementation, instead of writing a paper, I've chosen to do kind of a screencast reflection. Okay, and so this is what I did. This what's on the screen here. Um, I've created a presentation to be presented at a conference that we host at in our school district each year. We call it the Experiencing Success Today conference. This is a conference that's put on by ADM teachers, and it's for ADM teachers. So at first, when I heard about this a couple years ago when they started it, it sounded like kind of a silly idea because it's like I could just go ask these people or talk to these people about what they're going to present about. But then once the conference happened the first time, actually, it was really, really cool to see my fellow coworkers as experts in different given areas and hear things that don't come up in our regular conversations. And so what I'm presenting on is what we've called student-paced learning. This is how students learn in my class now, and it's a risk that I've taken this year, as well as the other person who teaches ninth grade science with me. And so I just made this presentation. I'm not going to walk through the presentation with you here because the purpose isn't to do that, but rather to reflect. And so one thing that I was able to do through the use of this presentation, this isn't going to be presented like slide by slide by me either, or by the person who's presenting with me, but rather just these first 3 slides will kind of be presented in a traditional presentation format. After that, the participants will see this Google link, and they will have access to these slides. And so if you follow that Google link, you could get access to these slides. And they're set up very similar to what my students experience in my class. And so, like, this is the first activity. And then there's a quote, and then reflection, a little activity for the participants to engage with, and then a stop sign. Now, the stop signs are one thing that I've done to kind of create learning conversations. It says here, stop, discuss with another participant what your thoughts are from the previous activity. This is modified from how I use stop signs with my students. Typically with my students, they say, stop, check in with your instructor for feedback on your learnings. I thought that to change to say, discuss with another participant what your thoughts are from the previous activity, I felt like that was a more appropriate way to approach adult learners who, as we've talked about, are already experts in their field. They're just applying this new idea of the use of technology to help provide differentiation a little bit better. So another thing that I've done through these slides for teachers is I've spread knowledge. One way I've done that is through some of these quotes here. Carol Ann Tomlinson is a popular person for differentiation. For feedback, there's a book that some teachers have read on how to give effective feedback, and so there's a quote from that book there. And then there's a quote from a technology guy here in the use of technology activity. I've also spread knowledge through links to different people's Twitters. So these yellow ones have a link to this guy's Twitter, the guy who said the quote, and so that's kind of nice. And then I've got another one towards the end of a person's Twitter account. And so those are some ways that I have attempted to spread knowledge about educational technology through this presentation. As to be a leader of change, that sounds kind of weird, but technology is pretty new at our school, at least implemented to the depth that it is. We have this framework that we work through for teachers' professional development, and each of these dark gray hexes here are actions that students should, or things students should do with the technology that they've been given. And so as a leader of change, I'm showing teachers that it's possible to achieve these things, because I know that many people feel overwhelmed by them. And just one tool is accomplishing almost all of these, 6 of the 8 of these dark gray hexes we've been able to accomplish through this tool. And so I'm showing an effective use of technology. And one big touch point here that is brought up here is that how can I make technology use in my classroom meaningful? I know a lot of teachers in my district are just taking technology and using it to do digital worksheets, basically, and that's not necessarily meaningful. The learning doesn't have any more depth because technology is being used, and so that's kind of what I'm encouraging there. So I've created learning conversations, I've spread knowledge, and I've been a leader of change through this presentation. Those are all a few things that Jim Knight touched on in instructional coaching. Something that Elena Aguilar touched on the art of coaching. A few things was to encourage reflection in teachers. And so each activity, teachers are reflecting on their current reality in their classroom. And then kind of the application activity with my students, I would call this the extension activity, is how can I adapt this for my classroom? And so with that, I try to walk them back from, you don't have to have this whole change everything into online, but rather, how can this help you the most effectively and efficiently? Maybe you adapt to some of these things. And so getting teachers to reflect, how does this look in their classroom? One thing coaches have to do is develop trust with their teachers they work with. And that's something, if there's one area I feel like I've developed trust with the teachers I work with in the last couple of years is in regards to technology. Usually when we're in a professional development setting, I'm helping the teachers around me navigate through their Google Drives or get logged in or find the right web address or whatever it is, help with simple troubleshooting. And so I've developed trust in the past that I think will pay off here in the present in doing this activity. As a coach here, I demonstrate a mindset where I believe that the teachers I'll be working with have the ability to grow in their use of technology and in their understanding of how to use technology. I have this belief here that's demonstrated that they'll be able to adapt some of these techniques for their classroom. And then I provide resources to help them along the way to kind of scaffold their incorporation of these techniques into their classroom. And then I also build in opportunities to listen to teachers and to be involved in those learning activities and to ask them questions because I'm only really presenting for the first 3 slides, and then the teachers are kind of on their own. It's almost teacher-paced learning or participant-paced learning here where they're going on their own. With this framework, I established the why to what we're doing, and it's all about the students using technology in a meaningful way. And so that's kind of that student-centered piece that it all comes back to helping the students. So finally, my next step for this presentation will be to follow up with teachers and help them to develop sort of an implementation plan so that they can actually take what they learn and what they do in my session and apply it to their everyday classroom. So Thank you for listening. I hope this is helpful. I'd love to hear some feedback from you guys.